Roxo Media House.
You know you're gonna possibly get the shit knocked out of you. I mean, that's the honest and brutal truth.
Garrett Riley, Frogs offensive coordinator, excited to see this team in pads for the first time. Frogs Today Daily starts right now.
This is Frogs Today Daily. Frog Fall Camp 2022, presented by Dave's Hot Chicken. And here's your host, the voice of the Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Welcome into the Morris practice fields here at TCU on another warm day, day 3, as we mentioned, for the Horned Frogs of head coach Sonny Dykes. I'm Brian Estridge. Boy, do we have a show lined up for you today. This team, physical in their work today. That's really the theme of this practice. And we got a couple of reporters out on the field right now that'll be filling us in on that. Coach David Beaudin and Jeff Wilson are both alongside. Paul Gonzales, the safeties coach, is going to stop by a little bit later on. One of 2 holdovers from Gary Patterson's staff. Coach G will be with us here. We'll talk a little bit about the battle and a couple of positions that he has right now that's wide open here on this Frog defense. The 2 coordinators spoke with the media post-practice, and we'll hear from them. Garrett Riley, who you heard from just a moment ago, as well as Joe Gillespie, get their take on the first day in shoulder pads here for TCU. But first, let's get a rundown of what happened here at the Morris practice fields on this day 3. And for that, we turn to our reporters in the field. Let's start with Coach David Beaudin, who's been fired up about today for the last week. Finally get him in shoulder pads. The theme of this one, no doubt, David, had to be being physical and working on tackling.
That's exactly right. Pads were popping today, and physicality was definitely the emphasis out there for the Horned Frogs. And as you went around, they started in a tackling circuit right off the bat, went into each position group, including the offensive linemen out there, teaching and learning tackling the right way. They had an angle tackle drill. They used a crash pad to take guys down to the ground. So doing it in a safe way, but each member participated to teach tackling on the first day of really any kind of physicality. So you saw that out there. Then they jumped into front 8. Or inside run, which is the defensive linemen and linebackers versus the offensive line, tight ends, and running backs with the quarterback handing the ball off. And you really saw some physicality there, running inside run, and guys were getting fired up. It got a little chippy, but it's camp, and we're here.
David, the other thing we saw was a fast workout here. This team really works and practices quickly, don't they?
Yes, yeah. So right away they jumped into team, which is not all that common, but Sonny really likes to get into a tempo drill right away. Full team, so it was 11 on 11, as fast as possible. And the offense is out there trying to get their assignments, get lined up, no pre-snap penalties, which they didn't have today, which was a good sign for the offense. Defensively, they're really worried about assignment and alignment on that side of the ball. How quickly can they get things communicated, get lined up, and, of course, execute. And you saw a lot of that today right out the gate. So it was they didn't waste any time getting practice going this morning.
Thank you, Coach Dave Beaudin, fired up there. You can follow him, by the way, at frogstoday.com. Check out his Dissecting the Frogs podcast, where he breaks things down on the recruiting trail as well as X's and O's for us here at Frogs Today. Of course, our show, The Daily Show, presented by our friends at Dave's Hot Chicken. You can check them out online. You can order online at daveshotchicken.com. Try the number 4. Our producer, Jay, had that for lunch yesterday, raving about it, folks. It's a great lunch for under $10 at Dave's Hot Chicken. When we continue here with Frogs Today Daily, Jeff Wilson with his take on how practices in 2022 are different than anything we've seen over the last 2 decades in Fort Worth. That's when Frogs Today Daily continues in a moment.
Some like it hot. Some like it hotter. Dave's Hot Chicken is here for the challenge. From kid-safe no-spice tenders to the kind of Carolina Reaper heat that comes with a waiver. Dave's Hot Chicken has it all. And they don't skimp on the extras either. Crinkle-cut fries, mac and cheese, milkshakes, and don't forget the Dave sauce. There's something for everyone. So take your grandma for lunch. Or take your buddy for a bet payoff. Check out their 6 DFW locations, including their newest on Cockrell Avenue in Fort Worth at daveshotchicken.com. Eating the Reaper can cause harm, including but not limited to bodily injury, property damage, emotional distress, or even death.
37 days from the Horned Frogs and their debut here at Amon Carter Stadium. Of course, the season opener against Colorado the week prior, but then Tarleton State here in Fort Worth on September the 10th. Welcome back in to Frogs Today Daily. I'm Brian Estridge. Paul Gonzales, safeties coach, will join us a little bit later on. But right now, Jeff Wilson's in the Sam Baugh practice facility. The Horned Frogs wrapping up day 3 that we talked about earlier. Physical practice here for Sonny Dykes. A lot of newness, as a matter of fact, with regard to these practices that we're seeing in Fort Worth. Jeff Wilson, you've been around for a while here. How does Coach Dykes seem to be handling practices here in Fort Worth this year?
Yeah, thanks, Brian. You know, back when I was covering the team, back in the Stone Age before Twitter, Facebook had just started, so there wasn't a huge social media presence. And at the time, Gary Patterson would allow the Star Telegram beat writer to watch all of practice. And regrettably, I watched them all, except one in my 2 years on the beat. It was the day before Thanksgiving on my second year. I watched a lot of practice, saw a lot of Gary Patterson, a lot of the coaching. So I'm kind of curious, how is Sonny Dykes different? How does he run a practice? What does he do during a practice? Now, we don't have full access. We're allowed to watch for an hour, take video and photos for 30 minutes, but So I spent today during our allotted time kind of walking around and just kind of following what Sonny Dykes was doing. And it is different. There's no question about it. He's more of a CEO. He's not completely hands off. I asked him that question during practice, actually. I said, hey, you just look like a CEO walking around and just observing things. And he said that's not entirely accurate. He will get in people's business if he needs to, and but not like his predecessor. When you watched a Gary Patterson practice, he spent almost all of his time on defense. By the end of practice, he had no voice. He went through hauls by the dozen each day in practice to regain his voice for the next day, You watch Sonny Dykes, and it's just kind of like he's moseying around. He's making his mental notes, but he's visible, and I think that's a very important thing for players and coaches, but especially the players, to see the head coach watching their position group go through work, to watch both sides of the ball. Now, of course, Sonny Dykes is an offensive guy. He's going to spend a lot of time watching the offense, but for the defensive players, it's going to be important. It's going to be meaningful to know that their head coach is watching them and taking notes and putting it in his mind and putting it in their mind that they're being paid attention to from the very top. And I think that's really a big thing. And I think that's something that didn't happen the past 21 years. Gary Patterson is a defensive coach. He spent a lot of time on the defensive side of the ball. I know that there were technically defensive coordinators. Dick Bumpus, of course, comes to mind. But Gary Patterson was the defensive coordinator, and those defenders knew he was on the field. The offense, meanwhile, kind of operated in obscurity, and the only time that Gary really seemed to pay attention to him was when they were going against the defense. And so it was noticeable, the reaction from the players and the reaction from the offensive coaches. They noticed that the head coach was never around. So, it's only been 3 days, and really this is the 1 hour that I watched Sonny Dykes. But it's definitely different, and I think the players are really going to appreciate that. Okay, Brian, back to you.
Follow Jeff Wilson, of course, online, frogstoday.com, also rangerstoday.com. He does double duty for us here at Frogs Today. Coming up next, Paul Gonzales, the Frog safety, one of the holdovers from the Gary Patterson era. Former baseball player. He's turned into a pretty doggone good safeties coach. He's going to join us next when Frogs Today Daily, presented by our friends at Dave's Hot Chicken, continues in a moment.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Back we come on Frogs Today daily here at the Morris Practice Facility, and we're excited about the fact we get this guy an opportunity to visit with Paul Gonzales. Good to see you, my man.
Good to see you.
One of our favorites here, and a good football coach. You had the first day today. I'm not going to say in full pads, but you had the first day today in shells. At least this one, it feels like the theme of this one was physicality today.
Right. That's something we're going to preach from the staff to the kids, and teaching those guys how to approach playing the game with physicality and taking on blocks, tackling, taking good angles, and then also teaching, tackling in general. We did a circuit today at the beginning of practice just to make those offensive players learn how to tackle as well. So that was the theme of today for sure.
I love that everybody participated in that tackle. I saw you with the kickers at one point because you just never know when a guy might need to make a play, right?
Right. At the end of the day, we are playing football,
yeah.
And so they have to learn how to tackle. They have to learn how to get people on the ground, and that's an important part of the game. And we want to make sure, top to bottom, our roster understands how to do that.
Yeah,
so.
and you guys also, I love how you teach tackling. There's a way to tackle that's safe yet football sound, and you guys teach that.
Right. And we're just trying to keep everybody healthy, but also make sure that those guys understand. You have to be the aggressor in that situation. Our saying, you got to be the hammer, not the nail.
Yeah.
So that's important to teach that.
All right, give me a sense of your guys, because you got some players back there at safety. There's some battle going on for a couple of positions. I'm not going to get into specifics on depth chart, but I want to know what kind of shape they show up in. You pleased with how they're responding and how they're grasping the new defense?
Yeah, I think, by and large, top to bottom, my group did a nice job in the offseason, in the summer. Putting on weight, getting stronger. That was one of our goals at the top of the list, was to get everybody at a more imposing, physique and weight, to be better in the physical part and tackling in that part of the game. And I thought that by and large they did it as a group. And, guys are out there playing well. We had the spring install, so everyone kind of knows what they're doing now. And now it's kind of that second level of being a player as far as being able to, what to do. Let's do it fast and execute it at a high level. So they've done a nice job so far, 3 days in.
You talk about guys that look good on the hoof. You talk about getting bigger. Mark Perry's one of those guys that transfer. I mean, he does. He looks like a Big 12 safety back there.
Right, yeah. Mark did a nice job this summer and has a good body. Very, very cerebral kid, and does a good job communicating in the back end. And we're just trying to find the right combination of three guys that have some continuity back there to make sure that we can steer the ship from the back end.
When you talk to these players, the one thing that they talk about in relation to Joe's defense is, and I said that to him the other day. He said, "It ain't my defense; it's our defense." But with that defense, and it is the fact that they play with some freedom. They say, and they can really just react and get after guys. Play a little bit faster. They think because of it.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of our philosophies. And when I got with Coach Gillespie early on. That's a big deal for him, is he doesn't want to paralyze these guys by analysis, right? He wants them to be able to get the call, see a formation, and go play. And he wants that athletic ability to kind of take over. So, we got an athletic group. I think that's one thing, top to bottom, D-line, linebackers, corners, and safeties. We got to continue to get physical and continue to work on, playing and hunting together is one of our themes. But I think for sure the scheme puts guys in position to make plays and to play with some speed. So it's good.
Depth-wise, you feel okay at your spot?
Yeah, I think right now, we're 3 deep and guys are healthy, and they're working hard and improving every day. We've got to just keep pushing the envelope. Like you said, we're still working to find the 3 guys that are going to be our quote-unquote starters.
Right.
But right now everybody's battling and doing a nice job of executing what we're asking them to do.
We've talked several times about this, but for folks who may not know, you were a baseball guy too.
Right.
But football, did you always know you wanted to coach football?
I knew I wanted to coach.
Yeah.
My dad was a football coach.
Right.
But I just knew I wanted to coach. I got into coaching and was coaching baseball and football in high school.
Yeah.
It just kind of fell into an opportunity.
Had a big paying job too, right?
Yeah, real big. But fell into an opportunity to coach at the college level, and here I am. So it just kind of happened for me.
It paid so much that you worked overnights at FedEx and bounced and everything else like that just to make it work, right?
Yeah, you got to make ends meet. I tell young guys, I'm a young guy still in the
Right.
profession. I say that like I'm old, but I tell younger coaches all the time, if you want to get into coaching, don't get in for the money, because especially early on, you know, the odds are you're not going to be making a whole lot of it, you know, but if you're getting into it because you love, you know, working with young people and, you know, you love the game, those types of things, you know, at some point maybe the money does come, but definitely not early on, you know, kind of cut your teeth.
There are two things that I love in watching you. One is the intensity and the passion you bring to the game and that you coach with. And secondly is the fact that when you walk off the field like you did today, you turn into dad and husband, and you do it real quickly. And I love that. The fact that your family's there, young family there to greet you, and you're all in on that. I mean, I can tell that's important to you.
Oh, yeah. You know, I love being around my kids, and I love my kids to be around our players as much as possible. And, you know, it just happened today. It worked out. But, you know, you gotta drive the guys in between the lines, and you got to demand of them perfection. And then once you get off, you know, you can turn into, you know, not necessarily the guy who's driving the ship, but the guy who's confidant and trying to help them through problems and teach them and those kinds of things. So you got to turn that flip that switch, you know, pretty quick.
And sometimes you got to get after kickers and punters and tackling
drills.
drills.
Yeah. You know, you just in between the white lines, everybody's fair game. You know.
Exactly. Paul, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming by here.
Appreciate it.
All right, keep up the great work. Paul Gonzales, safeties coach for the Horned Frogs. More to come here on Frogs Today Daily, including the two coordinators. We got Joe Gillespie and Garrett Riley talking to the media right now. We'll go live to that interview room when we continue after this timeout.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain. Refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Some like it hot, some like it hotter. Dave's Hot Chicken is here for the challenge. From kid-safe no-spice tenders to the kind of Carolina Reaper heat that comes with a waiver. Dave's Hot Chicken has it all. And they don't skimp on the extras either. Crinkle-cut fries, mac and cheese, milkshakes, and don't forget the Dave sauce. There's something for everyone. So take your grandma for lunch. Or take your buddy for a bet payoff. Check out their 6 DFW locations, including their newest on Cockrell Avenue in Fort Worth at daveshotchicken.com. Eating the Reaper can cause harm, including but not limited to bodily injury, property damage, emotional distress, or even death.
Welcome back into the Morris practice facilities here at TCU. It is Frogs Today Daily. Time to hear from the two coordinators who spoke post-practice. You can see both of them excited about the fact that it finally got this team in pads. Chance to take a look at how physical they can be. Joe Gillespie and Garrett Riley, the two coordinators, Sonny Dykes, addressing the media in the team room right now.
A little bit of anxiousness through some of these young guys, especially that haven't been through it before. That's always a fun thing for us to see as coaches. Those guys come out in their first day of an actual college practice where you could get knocked out, right? So, yeah, it was fun. It's a good first day. I thought for the most part we did a pretty decent job of staying up to date, which is what we're after as coaches.
Right now, it's still we're in a learning curve. This was day one of full pads and stuff like that, and so there's a lot of things that are out there that we have to obviously work on. But you know, their ability to retain that information and let's come in. They communicated very well these first 2-3 days, and so that's been very encouraging. We still got a lot of work to do though.
Garrett Riley and Joe Gillespie addressing the media post-practice here, number 3. Tomorrow's theme, obviously, from Sonny Dykes, continue to get better. He talked about that as he walked by. We've got to get better every day, stacking better days on top of each other. We get ready for practice number 4 tomorrow here at the Morris practice facilities. Of course, we'll have you covered here with Frogs Today Daily. Big thank you to David Beaudin, also to Jeff Wilson, who are on the scene, the two coordinators, Paul Gonzales, who stopped by as well, and all of our crew here at Frogs Today Daily for their behind-the-scenes work. Great effort here for this one. All right, back with you tomorrow for another edition. Thanks to our friends at Dave's Hot Chicken. We're headed off to lunch. See you tomorrow for that. Have a great day.
Frogs Today Daily, presented by Dave's Hot Chicken, is a production of Roxo Media House.
Roxo Media House.